Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Sequel Q&A. My name's Doug. So the next sequel that we're going to be covering is Hell House LLC Lineage. For it, we talked to an executive producer on that, Jim Klock, but most folks know him as an actor with over 100 credits, a writer, and if you're in Virginia, he was a police officer before he made this transition into the world of filmmaking and acting. And man, Jim was a lot of fun to talk to. We talked about early on how he kind of said some kind of, hey, this might be something I'm into. And then he's working on the weekends undercover as a cop, security guard at a movie theater. He's able to watch all these films as much as he wants. He gets into it, and then he's able to use that movie theater when they're closed to film a movie he did called My Term early in his career, and boom, that set it off for him. Then he gets into the acting. He gets that acting bug bit pretty good. He's on The Wire, 24, Las Vegas, Desperate Housewives. Then he connects with a former guest of ours, Jack Plotnick, in Seinfeld, Jenny McCarthy Show, ton of things, hilarious improviser. And then he starts getting shows like True Detective, and he credits Jack in the interview, which is pretty cool. I'm like, oh, I know that name. And I look it up. I'm like, how do I not remember Jack right off the top? One of my favorites that we ever talked to. And then Jim had hit shows like Scream Queens. He's in Greenbrook in a small role, but all these movies he's working on, like he talks about, he's learning stuff while he's on the set. So he's soaking it all in. Most recently, you got to check out his new film, Chum, starring him and Alice Eve. Really sick trailer. I love it. I can't wait to see it. Just came out 2 weeks ago. I'll put the link in the episode notes so you could go check out that trailer and then go rent it because, wow. Really, really cool. And Jim was a cool guy. I loved his theory on just his outlook when it comes to being on a set, how you should operate a set, how you should run a set. And he teaches police officers, acting and improv for people that might want to get into it. But he spoke, again, I've interviewed over 250 folks in Hollywood. And he might be the first that has that police background. But the way he spoke about being an officer and going to call is, I don't know if all cops think that way, but they should. Like, he was really, the way he put it was pretty amazing. The way he looked at different situations, like, you have to really change. You're going from call to call, and these people are at their worst moment, and you have to be there to nurture them. And I'm like, wow, that's really a phenomenal mindset that he tries to teach to the next generation of cops. And he's doing all these trainings and he's doing these improv classes, but great guy, lots of stuff. I'll also put a link to his IMDb because he's one of those guys. You've seen him. He's in a ton of stuff and has a really amazing movie coming out. It doesn't have a name yet, but it talks about back in 1980, like that first big meeting about climate change. So should be pretty cool. The cast is sick. John Turturro, Evan Peters, Paul Rudd, Jason Clarke, Zach Woods, Dylan Baker, you name it. Everybody's in it. So it should be a pretty neat film to check out. But before I start the interview, if you're new here, please like, share, subscribe. We have a ton of interviews, like I mentioned, over 250. And then almost, you take that, like 170-ish sequel reviews where me and my buddy Jamie and sometimes a guest, we watch the film, we go scene by scene, we critique it and just have a lot of fun. It's a lot of riffing, good times talking about movies, and nothing better than that. It's like a book club for people that don't read books. I do enjoy reading, but not as easy to be able to put aside 2 hours, watch a film, and then chat with Jamie about it. So it's a lot of fun. So please follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. So without further ado, here is former police officer, a producer, a writer, an amazing human being, and of course an actor, Jim Klock. In Chicago?
No, I'm in DC right now.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. All right, cool. I'm in Jersey.
Oh, yeah, we're out in Jersey.
I'm in Hunterdon County. I'm about like 15 minutes from PA. But
Oh, okay.
Born and raised here, lived in Oregon for a little bit. And you're from Virginia, right?
Yeah, from Virginia, born and raised, but I directed a few movies in Atlantic City.
Oh, no way. Great place to
Yeah,
shoot.
dude, it was amazing. We had so much fun shooting there, man. Like especially when I was shooting there when I was really coming up, and just grungy, grindy, making movies, and it was just so much fun and awesome.
Oh, that's rad, man. So how did it all begin? So you grew up in Virginia, and was movies and acting and directing, like filmmaking, something always in the back of your brain, or was it you were a cop and then you were inspired to go that route?
No, I mean, I definitely, at a young age, me and my pawpaw, my granddad, like I lived at the movies. We just went to the movies, and we went to the movies on Christmas Eve, and I just grew up in the movies, and I mean, during the summer, I'd get dropped off at the movies and just literally all day long be at the movies until it was time to go home. So, and then I remember, like I think '85, we got our first VCR, and my dad and I really bonded over movies. And the one thing my dad would let me do, was stay up late to watch uh, Eastwood movies or
Nice.
like pretty cool cop movies. So I grew up on a lot of cop movies, and him and I bought we loved Hill Street Blues. And so what I think happened was I went to high school, fell in love with acting in high school, but wasn't didn't really fit in. And didn't have an idea of how to do it after high school. I know it sounds crazy now, right? But in 1993, there was no, I couldn't Google to find acting school
Yeah.
or something like that. And so, and I couldn't sing, and I wasn't very good at the accent work there, um, and so I really struggled with a Kennedy accent. And then I kind of had this self belief that, well, if I can't sing and dance and I can't do accents, I mean, obviously I can't be an actor. And of course, I had not heard of Billy Bob Thornton at this point yet, who, by the way, is an incredible singer, incredible singer.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
he blew my mind. I saw an ad for the Boxmasters, and I'm like, "Is that Billy Bob?" And he's
yeah,
great.
yeah, I saw him live in LA. They were fantastic. Uh, but he was the first actor, Southern actor I ever heard say, um, this accent stuff, you throw it away. Like, just don't, who cares? Like, what we care about is truthfulness. And so, anyways, I didn't have anyone tell me that back then. So I didn't really pursue it after high school, and so I pursued police work and had an incredibly blessed career in police work. Loved doing police work. Worked with some of the best people I've ever worked with. I feel it was the foundation of my life from 19 to 30. That's what I did, and I was very blessed. I spent most of my career in specialized units. I got to go to a lot of really amazing training in schools and became an instructor and still teach today. And finished my last 2 years working undercover narcotics. So like I had an incredible career in law enforcement, but about 3 years in, I got kind of the itch. Like I wanted to act again, and I thought it would be a hobby. So I kind of went to a couple like classes, but my first big thing was I went back to college at Nova and took an acting class there, Theater 1, Theater 2. And the first assignment I did was a monologue. And as I was leaving that night, I was the last one out of the class, and Dr. Brenda Lewis Holmes, a professor, pulled me aside. She says, "I've been teaching for 20 years. I've never said this to a student, but you could do this professionally."
Wow.
And and that was just, when you hear stories when someone speaks favor over you, and someone just like almost like a prophecy, or they speak favor, they just breathe life into a dream. That's what she did. And that kind of got me on the train of doing theater around DC. I was working undercover stolen cars at the time, so that shift was like 10 at night to 6 in the morning, so I could go do theater. And then I started doing college film. I just go put my headshot up at all the colleges, and I started doing some student films. And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think it's time to give this a go, and full time try to make it as an actor and filmmaker.
Wow. So undercover work. So you're doing some acting, right? You're full like pretending to be someone else, like that kind of undercover work.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So I didn't do, I was really gifted at street level. A lot of my partner and I, he was a great guy, and he was very gifted. He had worked some long term undercover work, and I really had a gift and more specialized in street level narcotic enforcement. That was kind of my gift, was working neighborhoods, designing, things for operations for high drug areas and things like that. And so, I did some undercover work, but it wasn't extensive. I did, but the thing about, as far as like longevity, I never went under for 6 months or something. Mine were, very quick. And but what was interesting is the amount of preparation we would do for an operation. And that's really probably where my preparation bug, my love of preparation really started there. Because when you do an operation, what most people don't realize is just the amount of planning and research and prep that goes into it. And that's my favorite part of acting today. Like I am a prep nut. Like I love it. I just absolutely love it. And so yeah, I think that's probably what I got more from my undercover time, was not actually acting or, when I did an undercover buy, it was really the preparation.
Yeah, because you have to get it right, right? You got to nail it in that. So like on the set, obviously it's not life or death on a set, but hey, you can get everything smooth sailing by getting everything, where it needs to be.
Yeah, stakes are much higher. Stakes are much higher. Like I said, my partner, he did some really crazy high stakes stuff. I remember doing an undercover buy one day, and I had a 6-man SWAT team in a minivan 10 feet away from me. I was pretty safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was pretty covered. But I did learn so much about preparation with him, and I do think though that one thing that in law enforcement, and I'm blessed to still be in it now. I'm a part-time. It's called a special deputy sheriff, and I'm assigned to my sheriff in Stafford County, Virginia, and that's where I still I teach an introduction to acting for undercover officers.
I read that. That's amazing. That's so cool.
And then I do a lot of charity stuff with him, and so I still love being involved. And we try to, we've produced a couple movies together. We did a documentary during the pandemic where we called The Thin Black Line at the department, and we followed 7 officers of color during that time and what it was to be a person of color and be in law enforcement, and something we're very proud of. So I'm still very active and involved in it. But the one thing I think that most police officers will agree upon is you have to, especially when you're in patrol, you're going from call to call, and you're just meeting different people, and you're meeting people every time almost they're at the worst. You know what I mean? Like you're meeting them in the worst of their situation, whatever they need dealt with. And your ability to go from call to call to call and kind of adapt, right? Based on whatever it is, because, we used to say is you got to treat the grandma who's got a cat in a tree needs the same level of love and care when you show up as someone whose house has been burglarized. And people would laugh at that, like, no, they don't. I'm like, yeah, they do, because if grandma calls you, you don't know what else grandma might be dealing with, right? Grandma might be dealing with, she might have just lost her husband. And the cat in the tree is just a sign that maybe grandma needs some other help, right? Other resources. And I really was blessed to learn that early. I had really great people around me that taught me about empathy and understanding what the job is. So it just caused you, I think it really gave me a great training ground of just, you can go to 20 different calls in a day, and you have to adapt to whatever you're dealing with and whoever you're dealing with immediately. Well, that's kind of what I do between action and cut now.
Yeah. That's got to be the most difficult thing. Is that what you found doing some of these trainings, or even just in your time in law enforcement? Is it's hard to teach empathy. Like, you can obviously learn from it, but you have to have something inside of you to, like you just said, like you're going from call to call with all these different situations, and that's tough. So it's got to be really hard for some cops to adapt to that.
Yeah, I do. I've heard people say you can't teach empathy and sympathy. And then I've also heard people say that you can mask, sympathy can mask empathy. So someone can be sympathetic but not empathetic, or empathetic and not sympathetic. I'm not quite sure of that.
Yeah.
What I do know is it's a really challenging job, and it's a really challenging profession that it's really hard to get people who've never done it to understand the challenges that come with it, the toll that it takes, and uh, and I think that it came down for me was I just was extremely blessed to have a mom and dad who raised me in a way where I was a respectful young man, and I loved my family, and my mother was a praying mom, and I had faith, and I grew up as as a young man, I became a Christian man, and my mom had always shown me what it was to truly be a person of faith. My mom was not she wasn't a talk out of one side, do out the other side. Like, she was a giver, man. She was generous and loving and kind, and so I didn't earn that. That's just what I was born into, thank God. And then when I became a police officer, I had older, really, really good older men and women that had been on the job who I just was blessed to learn from. And I think that's really the key for me. Is it really comes down to the academy is one thing, but who you're around when you're in your FTO, your field training, that's the real deal. That who you're around when you come out of the academy is going to dictate a lot of who you become, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like culture anywhere. A company, a police unit. It's so big because if you're like, hey, this is how they do it. Like, this is how, even though you could be like, hey, this doesn't feel right, but it's like, but I got to kind of do this because this is how they do it here, which is not the mindset,
Yep.
but that's what happens.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And when I meet young actors now, or if I'm mentoring, or I get a chance to, I always say I'm a dreamer who wants to help other dreamers. I don't ever want to forget who I am. I'm just a big dreamer, man. I'm just a big kid. I'm just living my dream, and I'm always looking for ways to, if I can, to help other dreamers. And someone asked me once, they're like, what's helped you the last few years? And I said, well, I just embrace what I call the 5 Ps. And the 5 Ps are, be professional, be prepared, be polite, be positive, be playful. Because I can control that. I can't control anything else, but I can control those 5 things. And I kind of feel the same way. That's kind of how it was in law enforcement. I didn't have that mindset necessarily. I didn't have the 5 Ps, but I just decided that I kind of was going to really try my best to be just a really nice police officer to the best of my ability. And didn't mean that I didn't, at times have to, use force to arrest bad guys and all that kind of stuff that comes with the job. Of course you do. But I think that I just decided early that I was going to, I don't know. I had this guy tell me one time, he's like, if you treat every person you come in contact with like a stranger, you would want a stranger to treat your mother, you'll never go wrong.
Oh yeah, totally.
And so even when, I had a kid one night try to sneak behind me and shoot me in the back of the head.
Jesus.
And I got him down to the station, man, and I bought him Coke and I got him some chips and I just got to talking with him, and like trying to, and I was trying to find the thing he loves, like why would you want to do, like, throw your life away, and when we were sitting in that room, I didn't see some kid who was like, I don't know, I just saw a broken kid that did love his grandma. And I just tried to talk to that kid. I tried to talk to the kid. He's like, well, my grandma is the only thing that really is good in my life. My grandma is the only thing. And I just remember sitting in that room thinking to myself, man, I grew up and I have so much love in my life. How can I be mad at this kid? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Obviously he tried to do something terrible. And praise God, it didn't work and I stopped him. But my point being is, once he was arrested, I didn't feel the need to like be mean to him or, any of that type of stuff. In fact, it was the opposite.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to look at it, man. That's awesome. So how do you go from you go to Nova, you get the kind words from the professor, start putting your picture up, doing some like student films. How does it go? Is it are you starting to audition, or is this when you took matters in your own hand? Because it looks like you did My Turn, right? You wrote, produced, and directed that.
Yeah, I sure did, man. That's a great one. Look at you. Good research, man. That's what started the whole thing. That's what started the whole thing. So yeah, this is a crazy story, actually. You talk about just God working in mysterious ways. So yeah, I realized pretty quick. I will say this. I realized pretty quick, probably 2 years, that I wasn't going to be the it wasn't going to be enough for me to sit around and wait for someone to call and give me an audition. It just wasn't. It just wasn't kind of in my DNA. So I'd heard Billy Bob Thornton, Dr. Billy Bob. He had done like a documentary or something, and talking about how he wrote Sling Blade and how he started writing his own stuff. And so I just I'd go on the weekends to the bookstore, and I started reading. I'd sit there and drink coffee and read books on how to make movies, how to write movies. And then there was one screenwriter said that if you want to learn how to be a screenwriter, read screenplays. And I was like, well, I could do that. So I just started reading screenplays. And so I had an off-duty job that hired off-duty police officers to work at a movie theater. And it was you talk about
you were like, man, if I told my 10-year-old self that this would be my job one day.
It was ridiculous in how amazing it was, because I'd work there, I don't know, almost every weekend, and then you got to go to movies for free. So I became friends with them, and so I asked the general manager. I said, hey, if I wrote a screenplay that took place in this theater, would you let me use it at night from like 12 to 7? He's like, yeah, sure, I don't care. So this brand new $40 million movie theater, right? And so I wrote a heist movie, because at that time, one of the things we did was, movies were a cash business at this time. They hadn't gone over to credit cards, right? So one of our jobs was to take the manager at night when they were closing, was to take them to the bank to do the money drop. So I just was like, okay, I'm going to write a inside heist movie, theater robbery, okay? And I just hired all my buddies I'd been doing plays with. But the way I got the movie made was, I was a defensive tactics instructor. They hired this great young man named Neil McKay, who was in college at George Mason, who wanted to be a filmmaker. And they hired him to teach me and another guy how to use cameras to film the training. That's what we do. So he comes in, and I just liked him. He was a cool young kid, loved movies, and I love movies. And he was going to film some of our, training. And the idea was to teach us how to use cameras. And we had the XL1, which at that time was supposed to do for cinema basically what the 7 and 5D ended up doing. But I don't know where you started your career. But so the XL1 was like this Canon camera that was mini DV, and it was just supposed to change the game, right? And it did change the game a lot of ways, but not quite as much technically as like 7D and 5D. So anyways, I'm like, hey man, you want to direct my movie? He's like, what? I said, I'm making a movie. I'm producing a movie. I wrote a movie, and I'm hiring all my friends as actors. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, here, read my script that I wrote on my computer in my cop car on a floppy disk. So yeah, he said, yeah, I'm in. And so he knew how to get some, other filmmakers. And this guy is still one of my great friends of the day, was our DP to this day, Dave Coyne, who's amazing. And so we shot My Turn in like, I think 10 nights, and cost me $2,300 total.
That's awesome.
And we had a great time, and I had all my cop buddies show up. So what's funny is, fast forward maybe a year and a half later, it gets into a film festival in Tampa, Florida, and we're doing a Q&A after. And the guy says, what was your budget? $2,200, I think is what it actually was. And he goes, there's no way. It had to cost you more than that in permits. And I said, permits for what? He said, permits to shoot out on the street. He's like, how'd you get the cop cars? I said, it was just my assigned cop car. It was just my cop car. I just drove my. He's like, well, maybe you're like, you own it? I said, no, I'm a police officer. He's like, well, how'd you get all those uniforms? I said, they're just my buddies. I just asked them to show up in their uniforms. And so he was like, well, how'd you get the street closed? I said, I just pulled my cop car over and turned the lights on. Like, I didn't know any better. I literally just didn't know any. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, I had no. I mean, it sounds silly, but I didn't know, and it was kind of like, don't ask and go with it. But anyways, it was super fun, and that's what got me started on making my own content. And then I just kept doing that. I just kept making some shorts. And my one of my best friends in the world, we were cops together, and then he left to become a lawyer, and then he fell in love with making movies, Daryl Martinelli, and that's who him and I started making movies together right after my turn. He was in my turn as well, and we worked together for years. That's who I made the movies with in Atlantic City. Him and his wife live in Absecon, New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we made tons of movies in New Jersey, and just kept grinding, right? You just kept getting better each time. You learn a little bit here, you learn a little bit here, and yeah. So and then I did, when I went to narcotics, I did start auditioning a little bit more. Then I booked The Wire, so I played an undercover cop on The Wire in season 3 while I was still a narcotics detective.
Wow. So when were you a narcotics detective until? I know you're still doing some stuff now, but like when you're in
end of 0305.
Okay.
Yep.
So it really took off after that. So you have The Wire, and then in 05 there's Jesus, Mary, and Joey, and then 24 is in 2007. So right around that time you were like, this bit me and this is something that I want to do.
Yeah. So in 05, I left in 05, right? The Wire came out in 05. I actually shot that in 04. But when I left in 05, there was really a couple of things that happened that really motivated me to take the chance. And one was my dad was sick. And I had been, while still working narcotics, my amazing sheriff, Charlie Jett, was so good to me. And he would let me, once I burned my leave, my dad was sick. I have an autistic little brother who needs full-time care. So he was really working with me to go back and forth to Missouri from Virginia to help with family. And it just got to a point where it was too much. And so I had an opportunity to go to Los Angeles on a security detail that was going to give me more time off and pay me really well, and then also be able to pursue acting more.
Wow.
So it was just kind of a perfect storm that was really happened over this kind of family of thing that that just kind of checked a bunch of boxes. And really I said to myself, I said, okay, well, I'm 30. I got 10 years on. I can't retire till 50 anyways. Got to have 25 years at 50. I said I can take 5 years, and then if I'm not making my living by 35, I'll just come back and still retire at 50.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was, I booked The Wire. Jesus, Mary, and Joey, I got my SAG card on that. These were just this really nice dudes that let me come up, and they're like, hey man, if you want to come up and PA for us, we'll throw you in and get you your SAG card.
Whoa.
And so, that's how I just went up and kind of PA'd for them on the movie for whatever, $100 a day or something. And then they threw me in the movie and got my SAG card. So that came out in 05, but that was earlier. But what The Wire did, The Wire being such a huge show, the big hit, that got me my agent when I first got, I got an agent right away because I had The Wire.
From that? Like,
Yep.
They reached out to you, or were you just reaching out to agencies?
No, I got there and had a buddy of mine be like, I'll introduce you to someone. And I said, okay. And the guy goes, yeah, I'll sign you right now with your background and with The Wire. And he's like, I'll sign you right now.
Wow.
So, and I had movies I had made, I had theater, and then I had The Wire. And no real training at all, other than a couple classes in college and stuff. And then of course after that, over my career, I went to Second City. I did Second City 1 and 2.
Oh, cool.
Obviously started training a lot when I was in LA, and eventually met Jack Plotnick, who is one of the best acting coaches in the world, an incredible actor and director as well. And I teach. What I coach and teach is all based off of Jack's foundation.
Oh, I love Jack. I interviewed him a few years ago. He was so cool.
He's an absolute blessing to anyone, isn't he? He's just such an amazing actor and artist. But you talk about a beautiful soul. I mean, anyone who writes a book for actors called New Thoughts for Actors and gives it away for free, pretty special dude.
And just such a funny guy.
He's hilarious.
His Conan bit, dude, Inside Out. He was the Inside Out guy, and that was amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible. So I started training under him, and you literally, I tell people all the time, you can look at my IMDb, And you can really see, if you look where my career starts to take off, it's after Jack Plotnick.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what year was that? Because I'm trying to guess. Because I know early on, probably they were like, "Hey, you have a background as a cop. You were on The Wire." Because a lot of the early roles are, again, for you. You're not only getting work, you're also, like you said, like you trained when you were in LA, but you're basically getting each of these different sets that you work on. You're able to, like, hey, this is how a set runs. This is how this works. This is how that works. So I'm sure you were very nosy in a good way, like trying to learn the ins and outs of everything.
Oh my goodness! One of the biggest blessings for me was I got to travel in 2008. Now I was making movies on my own and stuff like that, obviously, and I was working a little bit in '08. I'd probably done maybe 6 or 7, decent co-stars, and just eating the resume, right? Just grinding, getting a couple things here and there. But I had a chance. I went and worked with Kate Beckinsale and I was her head of security for a bit. And we did a movie in Memphis, Tennessee together. And Kate was just lovely, and her daughter Lily was lovely. Everyone was lovely. But working with Kate on that set, what happened is I because I'd been on sets, I kind of knew, because the thing is, when you're working security with a movie star, it's not just about fans and all that, right? There's that aspect of it, and there's making sure they're okay at their hotels and getting from point A and B. But when you're on set, a lot of it is just making sure they're safe from things that everyone else is safe from. You want to make sure that lights aren't going to fall on them. You're going to make sure there's fire around. Like, it's just basic stuff, right? And so what I would do is I learned really quick that once I got her to set, if I went over and stood at where the sound card was, where the sound designer was, what happened is I could see everything because they have monitors, and then I could hear. And what I started doing was I just would pick the sound designer's brain. I would just be like, "What's that? Why are they shooting that? Or were they?" And then from Kate, I started working for another actress, and then I started traveling with them, and then so now I'm on these huge sets with huge directors and movie stars, and I'm just figured out real quick that, you sit at the sound cart, and then, at lunch, you just, if you get a chance to meet some of the other crew, you just take time to meet people. And hey, and now I'm talking to, the A-cam op. Now I'm talking to hair and makeup, and I'm talking to the transpo guys. And so, yeah, it was incredible. I didn't even intend it. It was just kind of one of those things that was just special.
That's awesome. Like this doing, your own films and going to festivals, I'm sure early on, and I'm sure you're still doing that. But like the one thing when you watch a movie, it's like the phrase, like, it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it sounds like a duck, it's a duck, like that. When you watch those other films, I can watch any film, like especially with Tubi, they'll have all different types of films on there, a lot from independent filmmakers. You'll start watching and you're like, oh, this looks good. All right. But then when the sound isn't there, it throws everything off. So that's like a very important person you sat next to.
Yeah. And they know the thing about that I love, and still to this day, I just wrapped a movie, and one of my good buddies I've done a couple of movies with was the sound designer, and we just get along so great. But they know every department, because you got to think they got to work with wardrobe because they're micing you.
Yep.
So they understand, right? Like the sound team on this movie was so respectful and understood ties, even how the ties were being tied. I was just amazed. I'm just amazed at the attention to detail. But they know, because they got to work with every department. You know what I mean? They really do. And and they're just a wealth of knowledge, and they get to sit back from this. They're always watching. They're a little further back. So yeah, you're right. You want to get a free film school. Just figure out some experienced people on set that if they're nice enough to let you hang around and ask some questions, just keep your mouth shut and ask questions.
Yeah. ADR is great when you have to use it, but the less you can use it when you really don't need to, that's key. Because when you see those movies, you're like, oh my God, this is like a big budget movie. Why are we that's not what those people are saying right now.
In words I've never heard an actor say, I can't wait for ADR.
I know.
Right? I mean, we all do it, and you're right. It's a blessing to get to do it if you have to, but man, try to get it in camera if you can.
Oh yeah, that's got to be so hard. I'm sure there's so many times it just gets frustrating. You're like, how in that take am I saying that word this way or something, and you just like can't nail it, and you know by looking at the way the lips are moving and your lips are moving, and you're just like, this isn't lining up. But yeah, man, that's funny. So when you met Jack, was this was this like 2013 ish? Because that's where
Yeah,
I see a big
2012.
change, right?
Yeah. You're right. Good job, brother. You're right. So 2012, I meet Jack. What was weird about it was I'd had a buddy telling me for years about Jack, and timing just had not lined up because when Jack was teaching, it was always when he wasn't working. You know, he didn't have like a regular class in LA, and so late 2012, and what was interesting about this time was I had just sold a feature that I wrote, directed, and starred in called Murder 11. I just sold that. I shot that in 2011, and I sold it to Indican Pictures, my great friends over at Indican Pictures, amazing distribution company I worked with back in the day. And Sean and Randolph were great to me on that movie for sure. And so I had just sold that. I was starting to produce more, and I kind of didn't know which way the river was taking me. Like, I still loved acting. My favorite thing to do was acting, but I didn't seem to be kind of getting that guest star opportunity as many as I was hoping for. Like, you know, you're hoping to be climbing the hill, right?
Yeah.
Climbing the staircase. And I had done one guest star on Treme, and I really believe that was because it was David Simon from The Wire, and the casting director took a liking to me, and they had come up under the casting on The Wire. And so anyways, I meet Jack, and I was just like at a frustration standpoint where what was happening was I was taking my producing brain into my acting. It was becoming too technical, and I wasn't having as much fun. And the first time I met Jack Plotnick, I had fun. The first thing I did with him, and it was like a switch to my childlike faith was switched on, and I said, "Oh man, I just gotta spend more time with this guy. I just gotta go to every class I can with him, every workshop, whatever I can do. Read the book. I mean, I printed the book out and read it over and over, his book over again, and I share it with people now. It's part of my, obviously what I share, and anyways, and then right after Jack, maybe, I don't know, not long at all, I got True Detectives.
Wow.
Season 1, yeah. And of course, that show was a big hit. And then I just started booking. Like, my booking rate just jumped up because I was having fun again. Like, at the end of the day, I was having fun, and I was letting go of results. I wasn't going into these things with result-oriented, fear-based thinking. I was going in with a childlike play of, hey, here's how I'm going to do it today. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's awesome too. I'm just going to go live my life.
Did you feel like True Detective was going to be something as special as it was? Because it was so good that it kind of hurt any follow-ups. Because I think those are solid, but it was just such a perfect beginning chapter to all of it.
Yeah, there was just a feeling. You just could feel it. Yeah, even walking on set the first time, there was just something different about it. And I don't know if I knew it was going to be what it did. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, we all knew it was going to blow up to be what it was. But it definitely felt, I was like, oh geez, this is just different, something different. And one of my favorite things in the world that I take to this day and I share with anyone is, I was just talking about this on this movie with Paul. I just wrapped a movie with Paul Giamatti, and him and I were just talking about this.
The best.
He is the best. He is the best, man. Go, bro. And I told him what I learned from Woody. I was watching Woody one day, and director goes up to Woody Harrelson and says, "Oh, that was a great take, Woody." And Woody smiles and says, "They're all great, baby." and I just remember looking at him, and he was, first of all, Woody is such a nice man. He's just an easygoing guy. But you know what it was is that type of confidence is. It wasn't arrogant. It was his way of saying, like, I'm not judging this. They're all great to me. You pick whatever you want, but they're all great to me.
That's
And Paul and Giamatti and I just had this conversation about this, and that ability not to judge yourself after a take, that ability, you can either, because that's what either leads you, what you say to yourself can either be a launch pad to what you do next, or it can be a lid and keep you from doing anything new, right? Because you're so in your head.
Yeah.
And I think Jack's approach to acting was a launch pad for me, and I'm just trying to be a launch pad for others now.
That's great. Yeah, Woody, I interviewed this casting director, this guy, Glenn Daniels. He kind of like stepped into it in like 84. He was just like helping out at some agency, and then some guy took a liking to him and said, hey, you want to try to do this casting? So he worked on Wildcats, and he was helping out with the casting, and he was like obsessed with Woody Harrelson's audition. So he kept bringing him in, but he kept not getting picked, and they couldn't cast his role. And like he brought him in for a third time, and the director's like, why the hell? He's like, just give him one more shot. And then he got casted. And then he told me his brother ran into him at like a Dead concert in like the mid 90s. And was like, hey, my brother's Glenn Daniels, and he helped you. And he stopped him. He's like, Glenn's the most important man in my life. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like those stories to me blow my mind. Like, how does somebody know like that this person, it's like, I understand getting somebody to be in the room for that first time looking at a headshot, but like to be like, no, this person has to be in it. I've interviewed a few casting directors, and it's pretty wild, like how these things work out.
Yeah, and that's something that has been interesting for me as a producer to sit in those rooms or directing, and you're going through and you're casting, sending you someone, and you're looking at people, and you realize that it's so many talented people. It's just so many talented actors, and that's why I try to love on actors. Is like you have no idea what is the reason you get or don't get the job, and to beat yourself up and think, well, I didn't get the job because I didn't do this one thing, but half the time it's just not that, and it's so many factors that go into it, and that's where Megan Lewis is a casting director. She was my casting director angel. She saw something in me, and she believed in me, and she spoke up for me. And that's why it doesn't matter if Megan Lewis calls me today and says, hey, I need you to fly to Africa on your own dime and say one word. I'm doing it, right? Because she changed my life, right?
Yeah.
And so it really is special. And you just try not to forget those people. It's like I always say is confidence comes from my process. Confidence comes from experience. Confidence comes from facing adversity and overcoming it. Humility comes from remembering I didn't get here by myself. Humility comes from knowing that I'm a very, very blessed guy who's had a lot of people help me, a lot of doors open, and I'm just trying to honor it the best I can.
Yeah. So how do you approach? Obviously, everything's different now, like after COVID. But do you try to are you following what the same process that you're going through for auditions? Like, is it a lot of self tapes that you're getting for your films, or are you trying to get people in a room?
Well, as well, it's two. I'll answer it both two different ways. As an actor, I love both.
Yeah.
I flew in to meet this last director on literally I was on a movie in Vegas and flew in, met him, and got back on a plane, went back to Vegas because I love being in the room. I really do. It's just a great being in a room for me as an actor. Just has always felt like, hey man, these are two ball players. We're just two ball players. We're going to throw the ball for a little bit, see how we like playing ball together. And I like it. And it just reminds me of, I guess, the start. But I also do love the freedom of self-tape. Like my life is very, very good now. I get to be here. I'm visiting, family in Missouri last week. And I'm not concerned of where I've got to be if I get a self-tape. So both I love. I think that, some of the things is, if either way for you, I think sometimes anytime things become pressure for actors, right? If pressure goes up, playfulness goes down. So I always want to keep whatever I'm doing super playful. There's no pressure on me. If they want me to fly tomorrow and meet a director, I'll fly tomorrow and meet a director. That's playful. I'm excited. If they want me to tape it tonight, then okay, great. Let's go. I'll tape it. It's all about keeping a playful attitude. So if I'm on the other end of the thing, if I'm directing or producing, that's kind of where I'm trying to get to now, is how do I create a playful environment? Because some people they do, they prefer self tapes, right? Okay, well, if that's the case, then how do I minimize it so I can see what I want without, because I don't like all this extra pressure these people are putting on self tapes. Like, there's a lot of people out there teaching a lot of bad stuff, man.
Yeah,
really
sure.
It's really harmful stuff. It's fear based. It's putting more pressure on people, and it's like, the truth is, every casting director I've ever met who's big casting directors, you know what they say? I want to see you and hear you. I want to see you and hear you. And then it's usually followed by, just be good. Just do your work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you have a lot of things out there now, man. I hear crazy stories. So I just want to create an environment that's playful. That's what I want to do. And so even if I'm going to have you self-tape, I'm going to, whatever I ask the casting person to send out or whatever, I'm going to make sure that it is probably one scene, maybe. If it's two scenes, it's going to be two short scenes that are extremely different from each other, so I can see you behaving in different circumstances.
That's smart.
And it's not going to be heavy. It's not. I mean, when I say heavy page count, and I'm going to literally put in bold. You do not have to pay anyone to do this. You can do this on your phone. I don't care what your backdrop is. I just want to see you and hear you.
Oh, is that what people are doing? Telling people they have to?
I haven't seen it. All the casting people all the casting, everyone I get from like the great casting directors out there, they make it simple. But there's this other thing that's happening where there's, whether it's coaches or taping people that are instilling things in young actors. It's like, yeah, they're saying that because they have to. But if you really want to look at this, you need to be cinematic. You need to have this and have that and have this. And it's like, I don't know. If it's well lit and people can hear you and see you, that's what the casting directors tell me. So
that's great. No, I just always hear the being in the room, because it's like the personality too. Like, or they could be like, "Oh, Jim, that was great. Can you try it like this?" But I'm sure you could do that with self tapes. I'm sure there's ones you've seen and you're like, "Oh, this is great," but let's see if they can try this or something like that. But now it's interesting to hear that. I've talked to some casting directors, but they're not as active as they were in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. So it's good to hear somebody that is actually doing the legit casting process, to hear how they see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and for me, that's exactly why I like being in the room, is for a redirect. I love we're throwing the ball around. We're just throwing the ball around, and you give me an opportunity to do something new. I mean, that's what I live for. And so you do lose that a little bit in the taping, because I think in my entire career I've had one time where they've called back and given me a note and had me retape with a note. It's just not time efficient for that to happen.
Exactly. No, I know. Yeah, because then they have to send it out. In the room, it's right there. Instantaneous.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, and look, by the grace of God, it's like you start to get a good reel. You start to have a good resume. So now when my agents are pitching me for something, they're seeing my tape, whatever I auditioned for, but they're also seeing my reel, and they also know me, my resume. And so it does get a little bit easier for that, right, for self-tapes. But I love both. But I mean, you put me in a room where I can sit there and laugh and smile and have a good time. And even if I don't get the job, even if it doesn't go my way, what I know is I left that room. I left it on the field.
And you'll get the next job. That casting director might just be like, "Oh, maybe it does. I'm going to remember Jim for that one." I've heard stories of that too, because you never know who the next person is you're going to be, auditioning for. So that's a good mindset to have. So right after True Detective, that was a big, obviously we were talking about, that was like a monster show, like week to week. Like, God, if that show came out now and they had to drop all 8 episodes, obviously that's the only people can only do that now for the most part. They have no attention span and don't want to wait. But man, that was like every Sunday you were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. So that was a great thing to have on your reel, because you had some really cool roles after that. And then some good recurring TV roles, like the Astronaut Wives Club. That must have been a pretty big deal.
The 2026 FIFA World Cup meal at McDonald's is underway with one of 9 legendary cups in the lineup. Christian Pulisic, David Beckham, Lamine Yamal, Ronaldinho, Thierry Henry, Son Heung-min, Alphonso Davies, Santi Jimenez. And between the posts, it's Grimace. Get one of 9 collectible cups with a FIFA World Cup meal. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last. All rights reserved. 2026 McDonald's at FIFA World Cup 2026.
Yeah, no, that really got me going. And then I did Astronaut Wives Club. Then I did a really great movie that really helped, take me up a few floors. Was a movie called The Whole Truth, directed by the great Courtney Hunt. And that was me and Keanu playing lawyers. I played a prosecutor, and he played a defense attorney. And it was just an incredible cast. It's me, him, and Renee Zellweger, and Gabe Basso, and Gugu Mathieu. I mean, it's just insane cast. And that was my biggest role of that level. And that was 2014. And that was a great experience. And what it did is when you start to work in the level, and you level up with the work, and you're working around these greats. It just boosts your confidence in a way that I think carries over, and you really start to. That's kind of when I started to form, I think, my process of preparation and who I wanted to be, and kind of understanding the good from my law enforcement background, where this foundation helped me, and where the producing helped me, and the directing helped me, instead of getting in my way. That movie really did it.
Yeah.
That movie really did. Yeah, because it was like day one, I think, was day one where they moved some things around, and the director comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, we have to move some stuff. Is there any way we can, I know it's supposed to be tomorrow, but can you do I think it was my closing or opening argument?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "You can do it right now?" I said, "I can do any scene in the movie."
That's awesome.
And she laughed, and I said, and then so what became kind of the thing during that show, and that was that preparation. That goes back to what I was saying. But it wasn't because I just love it. That's how I prepare. I like to go in on day one where I'm just so free, because freedom to me is fun. And that movie really, and then after that was Scream Queens, who,
yeah,
I can't, working with Jamie Lee Curtis, you could just, again, if Jamie Lee Curtis called right now and said, "Hey, you want to come do one scene with me in Africa, you have to fly on a dime, and you got to take a camel across the desert," I'm coming, right? She was so nice to me. She was so nice to everyone. I learned from her. She taught me things. She was nice enough to talk to me about the work. And she's a goat for absolutely one of the greatest of all time. And so that, all those things just start happening together. And I think the next thing you know, you're just kind of like, man, now I'm living my dream,
Yeah, that show was cool because of the cast was wild. Yeah. All the people they had, either that were big at the time or soon to be big. Like Keke Palmer was that was just after her Disney days. Leah Michele, Emma Roberts, everybody. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, it was a crazy cast, and it was just it was fun. Everyone was Keke was amazing. She was super nice. We have a mutual friend, Craig Robinson, and we kind of bonded over Craig, and she was so lovely. And of course, Glenn Powell, that was,
I know, right? Isn't that funny?
Glenn Powell stole every scene he was in. Next thing you know, look at what he's doing. So yeah, that show was special, and it was really fun. Working with Ryan Murphy was really fun. I really enjoyed it because his attention to detail was unique for me. And but Jamie Lee, man, just she just was so unbelievably taking her time, and just the way she kind of treated everyone was. There was no cool kid club with Jamie Lee. There was none. Everybody was in the club. There was no, if she sat down to eat lunch, everyone was invited to sit down and eat lunch.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't say enough about her. So, but that's the thing that's kind of going back to my law enforcement career, right? I was just blessed to have some amazing men and women in my life that taught me really strong character values in that line of work. Right? Um, I had really two great sheriffs, three great sheriffs who were just amazing men of faith and integrity. Ralph Williams, Charlie Jett, and D.P. Decatur. Right? Well, then I get into this business, and now all of a sudden I'm doing movies with Keanu Reeves and becoming friends with him. Right? And you talk about a guy, you don't have to ask Keanu, just watch him. Just watch how he handles himself and then mimic that. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
you know, but then I go but Renee too, Renee Zellweger, like just sunshine walks into every room she walks into. And so all of a sudden now I'm working with these people, and it's kind of the same thing in a different environment. Right now, all of a sudden I got Jamie Lee Curtis, who's being kind to me, and I'm just watching how she works. I'm watching how she interacts with people. I'm watching how she does her business. I'm watching how Keanu does his business. I'm watching how, Woody, they're all great, baby. Like all those things just started to be my mentorship without them really knowing they were mentoring me.
Yeah. Leading by example.
That's right.
That's huge. That's right. So when it comes to producing, like how for projects that you're not attached to, when it comes to like either acting, directing, or writing, how do people seek you out producing? Or is that something you have like a producing agent that sets you up on some of these projects?
No. So on the producing side of things is really, I have a couple producing partners I've worked with over the years that we just kind of get projects. Usually with me, it's projects that this little core group of people I've worked with for a long time. Our agent at WME is incredible and does send us a lot of great projects. So we get a lot of great projects from her. And then also just some of it is just in the business long enough where people kind of know what we're looking for. And it's usually a pretty, I don't really have the time to do ground up producing anymore unless it's my own project, right? I mean, even right now, I have a movie I wrote that I'm going to direct and produce that I just can't find a window for it.
Yeah.
It's not a financing issue; it's a window issue, and that's a good.
That is a good thing. That's a good problem to have.
Good thing to have. But on the producing side, it's normally we're very specific of what we're looking for, so our agent kind of leads the way on it, and then outside of our agent, it's usually through a direct connection. It's like someone we've worked with before, someone we know that's like, oh, we know you guys are looking for this. It's already packaged. It's got some money to it. It's looking for this amount of money, that type of stuff.
And like, it depends. Obviously, each situation I'm sure is like unique, but somebody reaches out for, let's say, like Hell House LLC Lineage. Is that one that it's like, hey, for this, we need you to do blank? Is there different roles that you take on as a producer for each different project?
Yeah, so the horror films like Hell House, that falls under the Terror Films banner. And a lot of those were movies that we would find, Hell House was one that I found early in the Terror Films days, and they weren't quite there. They needed to go back in and do some work to get the movie ready to be released. And so we just kind of came on as me and my partner over at Terror, Joe Dane, we came on as executive producers on that, just helping. And then Joe really ran that. I mean, Joe's the one that set up the deal with Shudder, and I mean that's all Joe and the Hell House team. So those are a little unique. That's kind of like you just bring a little aspect of something, right? You just bring some little specialty, some little skill set to help get the movie done or get the movie out. But I don't really spend a lot of time in that space as a filmmaker or as a ground up producer. What I'm trying to do now is, obviously acting is my love. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. Producing, I like to do is what I call spot producing, is what I prefer to do. And that's where I might come on and bring one element to a project or help in some way, but it's where I'm not the lead producer from start all the way to finish.
That's interesting. So this has been so much fun. One movie that I think I feel like it was supposed to be released in like March of the pandemic. I could be wrong, but The Hunt. That was
Yeah.
that was such a rad movie. Oh yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the poster right now. It was supposed to come out March 13th, 2020, which is wild. That's like when everything kind of shut down. But that movie was insane. That was such a cool, because that was a big thing in the late 80s and 90s, like these type of movies. I'm trying to think of the one with Gary Busey and Ice-T.
Oh man, that was so good.
Surviving the Game, maybe?
Yes. Yeah, man. Yep. No, The Hunt was fun. That was a heck of a cast too. What a fun movie. I love that director. I only worked one day on it, but it was a hoot, man. That was a super fun one. And I was doing something else when I shot that too. I can't remember what I was, but I did 2 Blumhouse things back to back. But yeah, that was super fun. And I'm really excited. I have a movie coming out June 6th through AMC called Chum, and that's going to be a fun one. Keep your eyes out for that. That's a really fun one.
Oh, cool. Alice Eve, she's great.
Yeah, she is great, and it's shot it in Malta, and the trailer hasn't released yet. It'll be released here soon. But I've seen the trailer. It's so good.
In Malta. So where are some of these exotic places that you've been able to go to just from filmmaking and acting?
Well, I would say Malta's the top. Malta's definitely the top of that, man. What a beautiful country, and the water. We were on the water every day, and I mean, you could see 20 feet up. You could see the bottom of the ocean. It was just, I mean, it was unbelievable. It was absolutely one of the highlights of my career. Love the work. Love the movie. Excited for it to come out. The producer Luke Daniels is a dear friend, and the entire crew and cast was just unbelievable. And the Maltese crew, I mean, I just loved them. I just loved them so much. They just worked so hard. They were so funny. There was one day where I have like this almost 10-minute monologue. It was 7 to 8 pages or something like that, and it was like just crazy hot. And so I did the master, and I just said to the director, I was like, and no one talks back. It's like just me for 10 minutes or whatever it was. And there's literally no one else has a line. They're just listening to me. And I said, hey, let everyone go get on we had a cast boat off to the side. And some of the actors said, no, man, we'll stay here for your off camera. And I said, no, please. It was hot. And you're sitting on a steel boat, right? You're like, everyone's sitting listening to me. I said, no, it's totally fine. Please. It'd be fine. And so what I did was, then I used the crew, and I had the focus puller sitting down, and I just put the crew where the cast was, and it was one of the most fun days because they had a hoot doing it with me. You know what I mean? Except the focus puller, it's like, I can't look at you. You know, and I'm like, yeah, don't look at me in the camera. Don't look up at me. But yeah, man, the Maltese crew, the Maltese stunt team. Woo! I mean, the water rescue team. It was just an incredible time. Very, very thankful to Luke Daniels for that one, and yeah, excited for it to come out.
Yeah, the synopsis looks pretty wild. Are you the psychopathic killer?
Yeah.
What a great response. Yeah. That's awesome. Is that difficult for you to play someone that is like a killer? Like I interviewed Brian Thompson, who's in a ton, but he said Cobra. That was like really mentally draining on him. He was like that main night slasher, and he said it was so crazy having a role like that. He's like after we shot, he's like I was really like my head was kind of messed up from it.
Yeah, I don't think so, and I think that's where Jack in Second City helps me.
Yeah. Getting out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't live it. You know, I love preparation, and when I'm preparing to play not a good person, I limit the amount of my prep a day. And the reason I do that is just not to, I give myself a boundary, right? And so there's some things I change a little bit about it. And then the other thing is when I'm working is that I just refuse to stay in that. I love the launching on action. And then as soon as it's a cut, I want to go back to just being me, silly Jim.
That's good.
And so I think that is what has helped me a lot. And yeah, I don't know. I never had no interest in the like what we're it's we're playing a child's game at a high level. That's what we really are doing. And I'm not discounting any of it, but that's the truth. We're doing what we all did as kids, and we're just doing it at a high level. And so trying to keep a childlike playfulness and a childlike faith is really important to me. And I just never been interested in. I've worked with some people who stay in character and stuff, and I just kind of feel like, man, that's if that's what you got to do, it works for you, great. But man, I sure don't know how I'd feel walking around as a sociopath all damn day.
Yeah.
And and it's just not fun. I mean, to be honest with you, just simply said, it's not fun for me. It's way more fun for me to live in it for 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and then back to it, and then okay, great, and then let's see. But I don't know. I'm really very grateful to Second City and Jack Plotnick, because that foundation is what helped me.
Who else was at Second City at that time?
Well, I did intensives, so I don't know who would have been like the stars, because I think I did I was 16 or 17 when I went through the program.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I always looked up to all the actors I looked up to were really Second City people, and so I think that's what led me to Second City. They're all great. Like I tell anyone this, they're like, hey, if you had to recommend an acting class for someone just getting started, I tell them any of the big three improvs. Just go do improv.
Yep.
You just go do improv. You can't go wrong. You can't. If the improv needs to be the foundation of all of your work. And one of my favorite quotes is Robert Downey Jr. He says, "There's nothing worse than working with an actor. It takes 10 minutes to be spontaneous."
That's true.
And so that improv background is if nothing else is going to just give you so many great tools. But man, the list of and I mean, look at Ted Lasso. I mean, how amazing is he? Like just his work is absolutely insane.
Oh,
it's
I know.
just insane what he does, and that show specifically, the emotional roller coaster, the complexity of the character, the depth of the character. I mean, that's a world-class masterclass on moment-to-moment truthful acting, and that guy brings it. And what does he do? He was one of the best ever at Second City.
Yeah. And he started like that Comedy Sports. Then he went to Second City after that. That Comedy Sports was like Whose Line on like crack. It was like basically just a dinner theater. They're going to do some improv games, but then he got to the point that he wanted to move up. But yes, Sudeikis. You got to think a lot of those people that are comedic backgrounds. I can't even think about him, but what's the guy? He wrote on SNL for years. He was on Mr. Show.
Oh God, Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah, Derb. Yeah, Bob Odenkirk. Like, think about him. Like, you would never have thought that this guy would become like this. Not only a phenomenal actor, but like action star, and like it's great.
And Steve Carell's another one.
Oh, yeah, he's insane too. To see him go from The Office, where you saw in that show the emotions that he could play, the highs and lows, but as soon as he took on like these dramatic roles, you're like, holy shit, man.
I know.
No, he's
I know. And
he's great, man.
Bill Hader. I mean, I just love these guys. Like, it's
yeah.
And again, I just went to Second City. I wasn't like partial over any of them. They're all great. I mean, they really, the groundlings, they're all uniquely different. So I'm not one of those guys that's like, Second City rules or anything. I just happened to go, it worked for me. A couple of the actors, I really was kind of like saying, hey, that, that's kind of my goal, right? Is they're writing their own stuff. They're doing that type of thing. And kind of this movie I just wrapped is Tom McCarthy's new movie. And in 2015, I think I was asked, this was before Spotlight, before he won the Oscar for Spotlight. And I was asked by somebody, like, whose career would you most likely would like, to mirror? And I said, Tom McCarthy, hands down. Working actor who's super well respected, works all the time. He's a great actor. And he writes and directs movies and puts his friends in his movies. I mean, Win-Win is an amazing film, right? Like, and The Visitor and Station Agent, all these great movies, and then of course Spotlight blew him up. And so for me to go get to work with him on this movie, and you talk about a guy who was not just a world-class human, world-class director, world-class artist, world-class writer, world-class actor, all world-class at everything. But man, you talk about a playful set. You talk about every day just being like we were just all a bunch of kids on the playground. It was amazing.
Wow, that cast looks unreal, and the plot looks awesome. Period piece about that's crazy.
Yep, I'm sitting around that cast every day, just pinching myself, looking around the room, but you know the love the actors had for it. It was such a special thing. Everyone there just wanted to be there, and you know, again, there was no cool kid club. There wasn't. It was just one club, and we're all there making a movie.
That's awesome.
And that hasn't always been my experience. You know,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I've been on the movie sets where, you know, you have the cool kid club, and that's fine. I can deal with that too. But this was, you know, I remember Paul Rudd. I walked up to Paul Rudd because Paul Rudd does this thing that Jack taught me and Jack teaches, and that is no matter what you get, when you get a note, no matter what, smile. No matter what the note, just smile. Smile as you're getting the note. And I loved it. I was like, man, and I started doing it. But I saw the way Paul takes notes is not only does he smile, but he's got this little mischievousness in his eyes.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, we were talking one day, and I said, you know, I looked over at you, man, getting a note, and there was just like there's so much playfulness in your eyes. He's like, oh man, I'm just so excited I get to do it again.
Oh wow. That's
and I thought to myself, man, and you know, the other thing about that cast of the statement too was I've never been around that many stars, that many A-list, that many just absolute tip of the spear people. And they were all, every single one was slow to take credit and quick to give it. Everyone. Every single one. Every single one. I'm not kidding.
That's awesome.
Slow to take credit and quick to give it. So,
wow.
Yeah, that was a full circle moment. Full circle moment for me though, because of Tom being my favorite director.
Yeah, look at that. Wow, Jim, this has been awesome. One of my favorite a few questions I always like to ask folks is early on, did you ever keep any mementos from the sets you were on, or have the wherewithal to think about it, like on The Wire, keep some memento? Was there anything early on that you kept?
No, I never kept anything. I would always, in fact, the statement, we all signed each other's scripts.
Oh, that's cool.
And I just had a big plaque made for my house where I put the signed script and the thing from my trailer that had my character name and a couple of things. But I used to scripts would be really the only thing. I remember doing a TV show called Las Vegas. I did both. I did Vegas and Las Vegas. And it was Michael Chiklis and Dennis Quaid. And it was like a 1970s. I played a deputy sheriff in Vegas in 1975, whatever the year was. And I had John Candy's hat from Armed and Dangerous.
Oh.
And I remember being like, God, I want this hat. But you know, there's no way. I was like, no one's going to give me this hat. And I just wasn't bold enough to ask if I could have it. But I remember I just looked at it. It literally had John Candy's name on it.
That is awesome. I interviewed and helped write a book. The character actor Larry Hankin. He's in that movie. That's so cool. That's what people talk about in SNL. When you ever hear some of those stories, they're like, "Yeah, I put on these pants and it said like, you know, John Belushi on them." And you're like, "Oh my god!" Like that's insane. They're using. It's insane that is still around. A and B that's like still in rotation. That's so cool to like have that energy. It's like, hey, this is still from the beginning. We're still gonna do the same thing each week, the way they set up the week, and yeah. Now, Jim, how about for if you could? Is there a particular role that would be like the dream role for you, or type of film that you'd want to star in if you had that choice?
I've always I love TV. And I love TV and film both, but I would say if I had a dream role, it's like I'd love to be a series regular on one of those really cool police shows. You know, something like a Bosch, something.
Bosch was awesome.
I loved, you know, when I did Blue Bloods, I just did one episode of Blue Bloods, but just being on Blue Bloods for a week and working with, you know, Tom, Mr. Selleck, obviously. It was just, I feel at home. I like TV. I think TV for me, I like the schedule of TV. I like the community. I like the team. It reminds me of my law enforcement stuff. And so does making movies, for sure, especially if you get a good long run like this last one, The Statement. We were all there for a month. It was fantastic. But I think that if you're asking me like the dream, I really would, that's kind of one of my goals. And I've been close a few times, and we'll see. I think as far as a movie goes, is I don't know, man. I love exploring people who maybe are not. I like exploring people that maybe are a little unique. So I think it would probably be something where it was someone who maybe is not seen by society in some way, or overlooked by society, or I always like to think about like this. If when I first became a police officer, there was this older man who his name was Alan, and he was so sweet. We met in orientation together for the city, okay? And he was retired, coming back to work as a maintenance man to help his granddaughters through college. So he'd already retired from 40 years from somewhere else. And I would watch him. I'd see him all the time. And of course, we stayed friends because we went to orientation together. Yeah. So anytime I'd be at the police department, I'd run into him or whatever. And he worked as our custodian. Okay, you would have thought he was Picasso. when he was cleaning the bathroom, he was cleaning that bathroom like it was Picasso. It meant that much to him, and he was always doing it for his grandkids. It was always about getting them through school. And I just thought to myself, you want to talk about courage?
Yeah,
that's courage. That's courageous. You want to talk about being a hero? That's a hero. That's what it looks like. And then I thought, well, how many people don't see Alan? Because I would watch people walk by that didn't know him. They didn't go to orientation. Not that they were mean to him. They just didn't know him. They just wouldn't say anything to him. Just wouldn't say hello. And so it's funny because sometimes, like just on this last movie, I was walking to lunch and I said hello to one of the security officers working at the gate. I think his name was Gary. And the person with me goes, "Do you know everyone's name?" And I said, "Well, I try to get to know everyone." And they're like, "How?" I said, "I just say hi."
Yeah.
I just say hello. And then usually people introduce themselves, or I introduce myself. And I think it always goes back to, 30 some years ago to Alan, because it made me feel bad when I saw people walk by Alan and not realize they were walking by greatness.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing, Jim. That's a good mindset to have. Yeah. Say hi to everybody. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can change their day. I tell my daughter that, and I tell my son that. They're 3 and 7. I'm like, they're like, "Oh, why'd you say hi to that person?" I'm like, "Well, they looked at me and I said hi." Like, what's that going to hurt? It's not going to change my day too much, but it could make theirs better. You never know where people are at mentally.
That's right. That's how I feel, brother. That's exactly how I feel. You never know who's going through something, and your hello or your how you're doing or your kind word or your kind smile can change their day.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, I hope that one day, obviously you're doing great. Your career's crushing. Get that like you said, a Bosch type role on one of those shows, because that's what's crazy about TV and those series now, that back in the day it was like taboo for somebody who was like an actor or an actress that was in movies. It was like, oh my God, you can't be caught dead on TV. Now it's like, people do both. And also sometimes on these shows, they can go so much into a story. There's obviously some series you watch and you're like, all right, it's 8 1-hour episodes. Like, okay, this could have been told in a film, 2 hours. But some of the other ones, man, there's so many details they can add, so many like subplots, and you could really like weave this thing that could, the payoff could be so amazing. So it is wild how the landscape has changed.
Yeah, very much so. It feels like it's changing every day.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, man. Well, Jim, thanks so much. I'm so happy we connected. This will be out probably in 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll shoot you a link when it's up, and I'll make sure to keep an eye out for Chum, and then, of course, put any links that you have and social media and IMDb in the episode notes. This is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's do it again. Let's do a catch up whenever you can. And if I'm ever up in Jersey, I'll reach out to you, maybe grab a coffee or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, stay in touch and maybe we could do this again soon. I really enjoyed it, buddy.
Yeah, man, it's so much fun just talking to people, learning their stories, their beginnings. A lot of times, because for the most part, it's not like actors, even in the movie you were just on, like you were talking about, that cast, totally loaded. It's not like you're talking about your first credits or the beginnings. Maybe that can come up sometimes. So I always love like focusing on that part because I think that's the most fascinating thing. Like once you're in it, you're in it. Obviously, some amazing things can happen when you're in it, but to get to your toes in that water, it's like my favorite thing to hear about these stories, whether it was like, oh, I only did drama in high school because the cute girl was in it and then the person's thing, or like one of my favorite ones, it was Robert Hayes from Airplane. His old man was in the Navy, which was funny because he was stationed like Nebraska for a year, his old man. But when they flew back, he was going to USC, but it was like after everybody chose their classes. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was Cal maybe. And there was like no classes left, so he had like all these crappy ones, and then one was acting, so he took it, and then boom, the rest is history. And it's so crazy how a lot of careers are fate rather, but it is wild how all these things in this large like Rube Goldberg of life land into getting on that first set, or how everything, or like My Turn, like you taking that job, on weekends and doing the movie theater gig led to you being like, hey, you think I could shoot a movie here overnight? It's like, yeah, sure. And then you were able to use what you had, the resources you had, and look where that, early beginnings got you kind of hooked on it.
Yeah, it really did. And my pastor always says faith is the currency of heaven. And I think so often that first step of faith in anything is it can be scary, but when you do it, it just opens up and other things. Like for My Turn, a perfect example is I look back of how many people told me I couldn't start with a feature. Like everyone was like, "Hey, you got to start with a short." And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, "What?" I'm reading all these books, and these books are telling me the only difference between a short and a feature is days. It's the only thing. This is the only difference. It's the page count, it's the amount of days, and then of course days cost money. But so I kind of was naive enough in a way that and just had a big dream, but really the truth is too is like God just opened up all these opportunities for all these other people to come around me. Like if it wasn't for Neil McKay, I'm not making that movie. I didn't know how to turn a camera on, and Neil McKay is who found Dave Coyne, and Dave Coyne, who was our DP, and he owned the camera, and he owned the Steadicam, and he owned the crane, and he knew how to do a blood splatter. You know what I mean? It was just like, but that first step of faith of just saying, hey, I'm going to write this script, I'm going to make this movie. Then it like opened up the floodgates of opportunities, and you're right. I think sometimes is what keeps so many people from trying is not the lack of love for what they want to try. It's generally speaking some type of pressure outside of trying it, right? There's this. It's the pressure of whether it's financial pressure, whether it's people pressure, whether it's people laughing at you, or people are going to think you're crazy, or whatever the case is. And I think that sometimes you just got to get real quiet and say, what do I want to do? And I don't care if someone else thinks I'm crazy. I don't care if someone else thinks I'm any good. I think I'm good.
Yeah,
that's what I always say this is like, here's one thing I do know is there's one Jim Klock in the world. I'm one of one. One person has my fingerprints, one person has my DNA. So I don't need to be anyone else. I'm just trying to work on my craft and be the best person I can be. And I think as with our dreams, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like what's your dream? And your dream, don't worry about it if it's someone else's, and don't worry about it if it doesn't make sense to someone else. Just go after your dream one step at a time. That's it. So,
yep.
But I don't know. And then I think for me, I just did that, and God shined down with a lot of great people around me.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jim. Well, thanks so much for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll talk soon, man.
All right, brother. Really appreciate it.
Man, Jim was so cool and so humble. Like, I loved his outlook on acting. I said it at the top, is just so phenomenal. The way he thinks about how the set should be run. Just him talking a little bit about that Untitled film about the 20 experts meeting up to talk climate change, like the people in that movie that he was able to talk to a few of the people there that he was working with and just ask some questions. And really cool. I just love his mindset. If everybody had that mindset on set, so many movies would go swimmingly and they would be more successful. That synergy you need on a set in a scene is something that you can't mess around with. But yeah, thank you so much, Jim. Be sure to check out Chum. He plays Roy. Alice Eve is in it. She's great. And the trailer looks sick. I can't wait to watch it. Waiting for a weekend, rent it, put it on the projector in the backyard for me and the missus. Because this isn't for the kids. Not this one. But when they get older, they'll see it. So your homework, Hell House LLC Lineage. Check it out. Like I said, it's on AMC Plus. It's on a ton of different platforms that you can check out. Or you can rent $3-4 to be able to check it out. And me and Jamie will be talking about it next week. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast, follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys. Good night, guys.